Hi guys, so in today's video we're going to be taking a look at SharePoint News and how it integrates into Microsoft Teams. We'll take a look at why it's useful, how to set it up, and we'll also have a look at making our first post and seeing that flow through into Teams. My name's Gav Jones, and in my day job I'm Transformation Manager for a Fortune 500 company, and we've been looking at getting our organisation onto Teams and fully utilising everything that links into it. So hopefully these tips will be useful for you as well. We've got a new video coming out every Tuesday on YouTube, so remember to hit subscribe and the little bell icon to get notified every time we release a new video. And let's get into having a look at SharePoint News in Teams. Okay, so first thing is let's go and have a look at what I'm talking about with SharePoint News if you don't know what any of that is. Easiest way to get to it is through the Files tab of your team. So we're just in that little test team here that we don't use anymore. Go to any of the channels and hit Files and then open in SharePoint. So as you may know, sitting behind a team is an Office 365 group, which also has like a SharePoint site, SharePoint News, document library. Anything you could do in SharePoint is already set up when you set the team up. We've just jumped into the SharePoint view of documents, and we're gonna click on the home section on the left hand side, and that'll take us back to the home page. So you can restyle the home page however you want, but the default is when you set a team up is that you've got a latest news section at the top and then some activity for your files underneath. So really useful as a homepage for your team, both because you can publish news there, which we're going to have a look at, but also it starts to use some basic AI to surface some files that you might want to see that's happening in your team. So that's what we want to do. Obviously it doesn't look very nice at the moment. It's got some news posts without pictures as I was having a test, but we'll have a look at making one. So that's where we want the news to appear, but also we can get the news post to post into the team for us. So let's jump back into Teams quickly and set that up. If we go into the channel where we want the news post to appear and link the SharePoint News connector to that channel, click the three dots and click Connectors. And it should pop up at the top list. If it doesn't, you can just search for it. So just search for SharePoint and it'll pop up to the top. Click Configure, and at the time of recording there's not much you can configure. You can only publish a news post in Teams from the Teams SharePoint site. So I think what's coming in the future is being able to push anything throughout your organization into a specific team. Not sure, don't hold me to that, I'm not sure if that's being made or not. But for right now, you can only publish a news post that's made from the Teams SharePoint site into Teams itself. So that's what we're going to do. So all you can do is click Save or Cancel. We're going to click Save. And you know it's worked when one, that disappears, and two, in your configured section on the left hand side, it'll say SharePoint News 1 configured. Also, if we jump to the Conversations tab of that channel, you'll see we've got the new notification saying SharePoint News connector is now connected to this channel. See the ones above as well. I was just testing it before I started filming. But we know it's all set up now. So if we jump back into Edge and want to make a new news post and then see that flow through into the team. So the easiest way is to, in your homepage, click Add next to News, and you can either post a brand new news post or just a link to another website news, which is what I've done here. But we'll do a new news post to show you some of the functionality of SharePoint News. And then the first thing we want to do is do a title for our news post. So if I do Teams training, not a great headline to get people to click on it, but it'll do for now. You see it auto-fills who the news post is from, and you can remove that and put another person if you're doing a news post on their behalf. When someone goes in to view that post, you can put another name in there So for example, if I was doing one for the sales director, I could put the sales director's name in so everyone knew that that post was from him rather than from me. But for right now, we're just going to pick me again. And then second thing you want to do is click this little image icon so you get a nice banner header for your news post. You can do a web search. Microsoft have got some of these nice little suggestions for you, but I think it's just searching Bing. So if we click backgrounds, and then we'll just hit this one, and it'll put that picture into your header for you. It does by default try and search for wide photos, but that's something you need to bear in mind because it's going to zoom right into a portrait photo, for example, to make it fit the width of the screen. And you can drag this focal point to see which bits you want to focus on for that header. One thing to bear in mind is that picture is reused throughout SharePoint. So if you were viewing a different size thumbnail before you went into the news post, it sort of reformats it for you. So it's best to just pick a really big picture and it will sort out everything for you. It all gets reformatted on mobile, so you don't need to worry about doing another mobile view. It all works it out for you. And then the basics of SharePoint News is it's point and click. On the left hand side where you've got a plus, it's adding a new section, and a section is just the number of columns really. So we're going to go usually for a 1/3, 2/3 sort of view. So I'll pick that now. And then you can either just keep going down the page in that same section, so the same column settings, or just add a new section and put a different layout in. So you might want to flip between the thirds as you go down to make it look nice. Again, all of that gets reformatted and squished into one long view for mobile, so you don't need to worry about mobile view. And then sections on the left hand side, you can drag and move them with this little icon, or change them if you want to change to a different 2 columns or whatever you wanted there. And then the main bulk of content is where you've got a plus icon that's not on the left hand side, is you're going to add web parts into each section. So for example, we might want a bit of text there to say what our news post is about, and we might want maybe an image, say in the 2/3. You can pick from any image you want on the web. You can pick from anything in OneDrive, anything in the team or in the site, as it's all one and the same thing. We're just going to pick one that Microsoft have suggested for us for a background for now. So nice little picture to go with our training. And on this post is making sense because we've got a nice purple swishy thing there and a flower, which doesn't really go with Teams training. And then you might want to type some text as like introduction to this news post here. So I'm just putting some squiggles as an example. Then you can just have a flick through the web parts. They've got loads and loads of cool stuff, so I might do a separate post on this. Some of the main ones we use are File Viewer, which is great because you can look at your files without leaving that news post, and it sort of collates everything together for you. So if you had files saved all over the place in your team in different channels and different folders, you can then do a news post and keep the files in the same place, link to them, and be able to just pull content straight from them. So let's see if we can find a test file in the test team to use to show you something. So SharePoint News making sense so far? Give us a comment saying news in the comments below if we're on the right track. Okay, so we're just going to insert a file viewer, which is really useful for PowerPoint. So if I insert that file, then you can see it uses PowerPoint Online to give us a really rich view of that PowerPoint. So once we've published it and in the preview, you can move through the slides without leaving the news post. Also, if there's any builds, it also builds those as well if you just click on the slide rather than clicking on the forward and backwards buttons. Also, you can get this to open it in a new window, and it opens the actual file. So if you wanted people to edit it or just view it full screen, whatever, that jumps you into PowerPoint Online in a new tab. So really useful file viewer. And then anything we're doing in the news post, you can actually do on the home page or any other page actually. So where you've got highlighted content, that can bring in content from across your team and roll up into one thing. You can put useful links to other places, maybe your organisation, maybe into your company-wide SharePoint site. If you've got any video or anything, maybe from brands that use Vimeo or anything like that, anything that's got an embed code, you can basically embed into Teams. So if you had a Microsoft form, you can embed that using the embed web part. Loads of other stuff. So you can put maps. If you're doing a something about a sales forum, you could put a map in to say where it's going to be. If your company uses Yammer, you can plug that in. If you've got lots of files in one folder, you could link directly to that folder with all the files there, rather than having individual big previews like that. You can just link directly to the document library there. And it's got third-party ones like Facebook, Google Analytics. You can plug in and view that straight into your news post. Hero is quite useful, and I've used that a bit to have navigation at the bottom of your page back up through the hierarchy of news posts that you want to see. And what else is useful? News. So the news part that's at the top of the home page is actually just a web part called News. I've used News at the bottom of my Teams posts to then link to all of the other Teams news posts. So I can show you how to do that in another video, but you basically need a tag in your news post to link them all together and filter out anything else you don't want. If you just wanted to have a news thing at the bottom of each page to say, here's all of the news that's going on in your team, then that's really easy. You just add a news web part and it'll just automatically pick up anything that's in your team. People's quite useful. If you're working on a project, you can list out everyone that's in that project with you, and it'll have really rich cards when people hover over using your Active Directory and show you everything about that person, email, how to get in touch with them by phone, etc. And loads of other stuff you might want to plug in. So if you've got a YouTube video, you can plug that in directly without needing the embed code. You can just search for it with that widget. And then the other useful one for organizations is Stream. So I'll share that in a different post, but if you've got video content you recorded and you want to share it throughout your organization, it's best to put it on Stream, and then you can use a Stream web part to then incorporate that video into the SharePoint news post. But for now, I think we're happy just having a bit of an intro, a little picture that we just picked at random, and a embedded PowerPoint deck. You can turn comments on or off at the bottom, so if you want people in your team to be able to mention you or not. And then, because we've already set up the news connector, last thing for us to do is just click Post News. So we'll click Post News. It says Posting. You get a purple header saying it's been posted, and it says Posted there, and we can re-edit it anytime we want to. Now, in theory, that should have already posted through to the team for us. So let's go and take a look. We go into the testing channel. And so we've got no news posted through yet. So sometimes it takes a few minutes to come through. In our organisation, we've seen it's taking between 15 minutes even to a day to show up in the team. And we don't really know why. So we have found a little workaround. If that does happen to you and you want to chat about that news post quicker than that, is to click edit and then repost. Before I do that, I'm just going to jump back to home and show you how it shows up on the home page. So it'll show up in the top news section, and then which you can configure if you wanted to, but by default it's just the latest 4 stories that appear in chronological order, or reverse chronological order. So we're going to jump back into this, hit edit, and then update news. I don't know if this does work for definite, but or if it just makes you feel better, like keep pressing the crosswalk button when you're trying to cross the road. It seems to sometimes reforce it through to Teams. So see, that has now come through straight away. So if it was going to come through anyway, but it seemed like when we clicked republish, it then pushed it into the team. So what we've been telling people to do is, because the news post goes straight in, it doesn't mention anybody for you. In our main team for the whole sales channel, we've got the news linked to the general channel, so that's where all the general stuff happens, applicable to everybody, and so it's a good place to have your news linked into. But what we've been telling people to do is then go, once your news post has been posted into Teams, to go through @reply to the general channel, and then you know that everyone's got pinged about that news post in Teams, so everyone can see it. Second way to make sure people are seeing the news post in Teams is that you can go and put a tab in and link it back to that SharePoint homepage. So we're going to pick Home, post the channel about this tab, which is fine, save, and then we've already got one called Home because this is testing channel, and it's just put Home 1. But then it links directly to that homepage view, which again you can bespoke, but by default it's got news activity for you, and you can put any web part that we went through to make a news post. You can use any of those web parts to make the homepage look how you want it to look. Same thing, you just go to the top, click edit, and just rearrange anything you want. So that's one way to link the homepage into Teams, and then also we can link directly to the news, which you might have seen already. So if we click SharePoint again, and then click the news page rather than home, save that. Both of these we've done in our main team. We've then got home, which shows you again whatever view you want, but by default news and then files. But then also we've got news, so you've got every single news post just scrolling down in reverse chronological order in that news tab. So you can direct people to either one of those. Okay, so that's how we linked through a news post into Teams, and how we've made sure everyone's been pinged about that news post by doing an mention for the entire channel, for the entire team. You may find that that's still not enough to get your message across, or that people aren't seeing your post. So we jumped into the home page by going through Files, opening SharePoint, which opens the Files view, and then going to Home. Now we've got the Home tab set up, or the News tab, we can just click on Home and click on the website button and just go straight to that home page in Edge. All the pages we've done are going to appear in Pages down the left-hand side. Now this, I've put some extra columns in here because I was messing about with some things in the test channel. So you won't have all these little icons or the yellow. But you can see all the news posts I've done in the test channel. If anyone else has created news posts in your team, they would be by default sorted by who created them. So everyone's got access to create a news post in the team. And then if we click on the little tick icon and the eye at the right hand side, it's going to pop up. And because I've got no one in the test team, I can't really show you this, but underneath this little preview, it'll say 20 views or whatever. And if you click on that blue icon, it'll then take you through to a different section that tells you it's 20 views, but also that's from 10 viewers, say, so that each person has seen that page twice. So if you've got a team of 100 people and only 10 people have seen it, you know you might want to do some more marketing activity internally to get your news post out if it was something that people really needed to see. So obviously you can re-mention something in the team if you wanted to get it back out there, or we've got this other functionality which is an email digest. So if we go back to the home page and on the news section click see all, and then we get a little option saying email a news digest. So if we click that, we're now saying which stories we want to go onto our email. So it's as easy as just ticking which ones we want to go on. So say we want don't know, these three. This test one on the bottom doesn't show anything. Click next, and then this is then like a little preview of your news digest. So if I just say example news digest, I'm just going to send it to myself, and you can even type a bespoke sort of email message at the top. It's got the stories we selected underneath, and then if one was really important, you could drag that to the top, reorder them, delete them here if you didn't want them on your news post anymore. And if we click Send News Digest, that sends it, takes us back to the news page we were on before. And if I jump into my Outlook, then you'll see Example News Digest. It's reformatted, it's got Microsoft at the top, so if you don't like that in your organisation, want your own logo, not entirely sure how to change that, to be honest. Probably with some custom coding you should do that. But by default, I think it looks pretty nice. It's got the Teams logo at the top, which team it's from, the header we just put in, any text we had as the body we'll put underneath, and it's got direct links to all of those news posts that we just did. So if we click on the Teams training one, it'll pop us back in, and then whether it's in the team or by email, everything's linking back to the same news post, so we can really track the viewers and views of that news post. So that was just a little introduction into SharePoint News and how it integrates into a team. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, remember to like this video, subscribe and hit the bell icon if you haven't already, because we've got new videos coming out every Tuesday. And what do you think? Are you going to use SharePoint News in any of your teams? Let us know using the quiz that'll pop up above. And then at MeTime, we've got a meeting timer app that we think is really useful for helping get the most out of your meetings. So there's loads of different ways to make meetings now, loads of different apps. Microsoft Teams is a great way of doing that. But we think people running meetings probably need a little bit of help, and that's why we've made an app for iPhone to help you run better meetings yourself. Really appreciate it if you check that out, and we'll see you in the next video.